Hi guys, welcome to episode 2. We are still on the first timers 30th of March PCA show. We, in the first episode, looked at all the figure ladies, and we are now going to look at the wellness through to bikini ladies as well. So basically within this series, I am having a look at all of the winners within as many shows that I can possibly do, providing them with some posing feedback, but also stuff that can be integrated into your own posing, really navigating what the judges look for, how you can perform better, not just within your posings, but also within your transitions, your flow, your personality, facial expressions, exactly what they've done really well, but what we can also improve on. And I will say this day in and day out. You can always be better, improved, and nothing is perfect, okay? So if you think you're perfect, I promise you there is still something that you can improve on, and that just goes without saying in general. So we are kick-starting with the wellness athletes. The first place went to Isabel Gothard. Again, if I say your name wrong, I am so sorry. But I also want to say a massive well done to all of those athletes who have stepped on stage. It is massive, okay, stepping on stage for the first time. And just the fact that you were able to get there and able to get on stage and strut your stuff is a big achievement as well. But if you are looking to compete again, or if you want to better improve for your next show, then please listen up, as you are going to be hearing all the tips and tricks from here. So let's have a look at Isabel's I Walk and also listen to the PCA's song choice on this and see what is going on. First thing I'm going to say is I think her smile is beautiful. You can tell she is really enjoying her time on that stage. You can tell that she has really put some thought and practice smiling. And although that sounds really stupid, but I promise you, when it comes to smiling on stage, you've got muscles in your cheeks. So if you go from like not smiling to then smiling, like I had cramp in my cheek. So practice your smiling for me. Her hair is also beautiful. It is neat. It is tidy. The bikini fits lovely. It goes really well with her color. It goes well with her hair. I feel like her tan could be a touch darker. Obviously PCA lighting does essentially kind of wash people out, but I definitely think her tan could have been a touch darker. This pose is actually really beautiful. It definitely does demonstrate her lower half dominance. The one thing that I would probably focus on is, even though they are wellness and she is wellness, we still need to show a little bit of fullness throughout that back delt. Now, what I see a lot of girls doing is quite literally just putting their hands on their waist and pivoting their elbow forwards like that. When in reality, when you bring your lat open in this position, your delt should be rounded off. And a lot of the time, it's just because people just pull their elbow forwards. What you actually really need to consider within this is essentially, especially as a wellness athlete, don't have your elbow so far to the front. We don't want to create too much of an emphasis with that arm. Actually sit your elbow somewhat further back. Allow that lat to sit underneath the armpit, rounding off that delt, but don't pull this too much, because what that's not allowing is it's not allowing your arms to be a minimal focus point here. This is creating your upper body to be a bit wider just with how her elbow is situated. What I also think in terms of PCA as well is I think they probably would have preferred a slightly more emphasis on that lat, and how she could have done that and fullness throughout her delt as well is by, instead of having her elbow rotated out like it is her internally rotating her elbow in to really lift those shoulders and get a bit of a better S curve in this front shot. But again, stunning. So here you can see front shot looks amazing. This shot does look good, but she's only showing me one butt cheek. As a wellness athlete, what I would be expecting is I'd be expecting her back foot, so her non-stabilized foot, to be more rotated around to the rear. I'd expect her to be pushing off that tip of the toe, because you can see how her butt comes down rather than perks up. And what I mean by that is what a lot of people do is they lean down into this bottom like this, like that, when in reality you want to push up, showcase more glute as a wellness athlete, having that knee facing to the rear. Another thing we don't want to see is your midsection. So keep your ass to the judges and bring that shoulder around to hide your midsection, again, to better emphasize that small, tiny waist, but also contract your tricep and delt here. This makes her look a bit softer than she probably is, just purely based on the fact that she's not fully contracted within this glute pot. And you can see that this girl clearly has an ass, like she has a great bum, but she could definitely demonstrate this a little bit better. I don't know how you can go back or forwards. So I don't actually know how you can scroll backwards and forwards on this set, so you're going to have to bear with me. Now, when it comes to arm movements through the rear, I feel like with wellness girls, we don't want them flapping around too much, and she actually creates quite a nice flow. But what she could most definitely do is just spend a little bit more time within the transitional period, pushing her hips back, really showcasing her glutes, and then stepping into that pose. I think if she definitely slowed that down a little bit and emphasized on clearly a strong point, which is her glutes, that would have been far more favorable. But also in this rear shot, you have the moment to move the hair to the back. Now, within PCA, they do generally prefer to see your back, but with two bros and stuff, you just need to make sure here you can see that her hair's covering her delts, her rear delts, and you really cannot see that. So you've got to make sure that you use this moment to push your hair in together, because this really isn't helping in terms of showcasing her top line here. And here you can see actually, where I paused before was actually better off, because now what she's done is she's properly crunched her back together. She's lost all shape throughout her her delts here. She was far better off showcasing that emphasis. The best thing you've got to think of is still showing that X-frame. So if your waist and your shoulders are the similar size, which you can see here, without the slight activation of the lats and showing me the roundness of the delts and the rear delts as well, you aren't displaying that you've got that size throughout the upper body. So you've just got to make sure that you don't crunch your back together. I see it often. Now, her lower half is really, really lovely. I would arguably say she's tilting her pelvis a little bit too much and not having her upper glute towards me as much. But in terms of like how her quads are looking and her foot placement, beautiful, really, really lovely. I love her hair. She just needs to push it in a little bit more. So I definitely think that transition could have been a lot smoother. I definitely think there could have been like a few more steps within that, and not having our hands flare too high up. I do really like her style of posing. I think it is very much similar to a lot of pros within the wellness industry or category. However, there are just a few things that essentially she can minimize, and she could definitely add in a few more steps and maybe go into a glute pot prior to going straight into this side shot that would essentially make it look a bit cleaner than it was. But again, really love her fluidity of the transitions. They could just be cleaned up a little bit more. Now, with this side shot, you can clearly see there's that element of struggle in the torso rotation here. I definitely, again, think that she could internally rotate that elbow to showcase a little bit more delt. She definitely needs to ensure that her boobs are not facing the side and she is actually rotating her chest around so that her back delt is showing. As you can see, all she's done is she's moved her hand this way. You need to think about hooking your hand and allowing that delt to still pop to help create that top line into the midsection out to the quads. And I'd also probably say she would actually look better with a slight rotation or turn out in this right foot, and then really rotate this knee towards the judges to help create that depth throughout that lower half. Her midsection is mini, but we can definitely get that better top frame there. I love that transition on her. I think that's really nice how she like flows into that. Overall, her presence is really, really lovely. I love her head movement. I love her smile. Her makeup, honestly, is so beautiful. And I don't know how she keeps her curls like that. I need some tips. So, Isabel, if you have any tips on how the hell you got your hair like that, please tell me, because I struggle. So yeah, a massive well done to Isabel. Those are just a few things that I would consider as a wellness athlete, and for Isabel to consider when she next competes on stage. Now, we are next going on to the junior bikini first place, Victoria. She actually went to go and win the overall, and she honestly looked amazing. Her balance, her conditioning, her shape, her overall look was absolutely stunning. And I think, you know, she was well deserved of that overall win. So a massive well done to you. A junior bikini girl taking an A overall is absolutely amazing. So here we have it, and let's have a look on where she can be improved, but also what the hell she did well. I love fast-paced walking, but in all honesty, I think that was a little bit too quick. I don't think that was that elegance of like striding or embracing the moment. I also wouldn't mind a bit more of a smile from her. I think she's very, very beautiful, but I think a smile would have made her seem a little bit more approachable. And just like she's enjoying it a little bit more. Now, again, nerves can take the best of most of us, and to be honest, there are some times where you do have the adrenaline kicking in and you walk fast, but I would definitely say maybe just walk a little bit faster. Slower. Like, I love that. I think that's so sassy, and I think the face that she's got now is beautiful, but then finishing it with a potential smile would have been absolutely awesome. Foot positioning here is really lovely, and you can just see how tiny her waist is. I honestly would probably say keeping her chest up a little bit more, just to see if we can get a little bit more fullness throughout those steps. One thing that I would love to see from this is her actually finishing a transitional shot. You can see that she kind of like went into things to then flow straight into things, and I can guarantee you if I press play, she won't essentially finish this glute shot. Yes. So you can see there how she like almost goes into it, but I would really like her to essentially emphasize her physique and her shape a lot more, which you can do within the transitional shots. Just generally taking your time and focusing on breathing and focusing on, right, I'm going to hold this for 1, 2, and 3. Take a breather. Like, controlling your breathing throughout this time would be really, really awesome. Now, her hamstrings here are insane. What I would probably recommend to create a little bit more of a balanced look is, you can see her hips are actually like this. The one thing that you really want to consider is keeping your hips at quite a neutral kind of stance. So instead of sitting down like this, you want to think about pushing off this tip of the toe and straightening it a little bit, so that essentially you can look less bent over into this part here. Her midsection is great, but then also her arm is very curved up here. I recommend having your arm around hip height, and that will allow her to, again, lift her shoulder up a little bit better. Beautiful side shot, beautiful waist. But again, I just think this pose could be performed a little bit better in terms of like her overall shape, because she just looks like she's leant this way a little bit too much. Good. And making sure both of your arms are doing something. So we don't want any T-Rex arms as well. So if you're going into a glute pop, don't have this arm out. Make sure you move it and place it into somewhere that's hidden. Again, girls, make sure you are lifting your glutes up when you go into that glute pop. Instead of it creating a massive shelf like that, you're actually creating just a decline when we actually want to see the shelf. If she was to lift that glute up by straightening her right knee, she's so sassy, I love it. Oh, I saw this and I thought, this is lovely. And again, just holding those poses, because I can guarantee you the photographer was thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm not going to get the shot that she wants because she's moving so fast. So I recommend always holding the pose for around 2 to 3 seconds before moving into a transitional shot, so the photographer can have a little bit of time. Again, making sure that hand is doing it. So with this, she definitely would have suited being more side on. So instead of having her feet like, and her hips opened up like this, she would have been far better off, getting naked for you guys now, sitting into her back hip, allowing her midsection to come to the side and bringing her upper body around, rather than opening herself like this, which doesn't necessarily give her the greatest shape. Really creating that emphasis, bringing that glute around, minimizing that midsection and bringing that top line would have looked far nicer on her physique than she has done here. And just, again, allowing those arms to come down. Beautiful sign off. So that was the overall winner. Again, a massive congratulations to you, girl, smashing it. But there are things that you can definitely improve on that can really, really enhance your look. And now you've done it the first time, embrace the next time you step on stage, and honestly just take your time and breathe. Next we have Tamsin Johnson, first place for ladies short bikini. So let's go. This is really nice. Really, really nice full physique. Her tan is absolutely lovely. I'd probably arguably say she could have a little bit more glaze to help her muscles pop a little bit more, but this is beautiful. I definitely think she could help emphasize her X-frame a little bit more with just a straighter arm and a bit more of a lift on those delts. But yeah, this is lovely. And I really love that bikini color on her. I think it suits her really, really nicely. I also think I would have your knickers a bit higher. So you always want them on the high. So if you would want them, instead of being sat on the bottom of your glute, you want them up here, smallest part of your waist, because that is going to help create that emphasis on your midsection being really, really small here. Beautiful transition shot. And again, I definitely think she could contract her tricep here a little bit more, specifically for PCA as well, because they do like to see a little bit more condition in comparison maybe to like two bros. So here you can see she loses her glute. So what you really want to think about here is making sure you're keeping your glute rotated. You're not sitting or pocketing into the hip, but you are sitting onto your bottom. I would arguably also say bring that foot in a little bit closer. And again, make sure your hips are aligned. And you can see here, this is all arm movement. So you need to make sure that you're using your torso rotation, keeping those lats open, because right now she's lowered how her delt looks, doesn't pop as much, and her lats also kind of caved in. So you just need to make sure you fully engage those lats and use your torso rotation to help emphasize it. She's very, very lucky. She's got amazing delts. So even without really fully popping them, they look incredible, but she could definitely be making them look fuller and a lot more rounder, and just generally make her physique pop a lot better if she was to pose these correctly, and also her glute here as well. I love that. That was beautiful. I also want to know, how do you get your hair up that high? So one thing I actually see quite a lot is ladies over tilting their pelvis. So you can see here that she's got a great arch in her back, her lower back. However, when you arch your lower back too much, your upper glute actually gets lost and is posing up there. So you just got to make sure you just tilt your pelvis just that slight bit so we can still see the fullness throughout the upper glute as well. And again, just straightening her arms here, she'll probably get a better kind of emphasis on her physique there. Oh, that was a beautiful transition. And this is a beautiful T-shape. Yes, that looked stunning. I loved that flow. I loved her hair movement, her head movement, and even just her smiling and her grace. It just all suits her aesthetic and it just slots so nicely into place. Like, I love that. I love that. And that's what it's all about. Having fun and just going, you know what? I am here now and I'm owning it. So here we have Abby Griffiths, ladies bikini tall. Now, a quick disclaimer, Abby is actually my posing client, and we worked extremely hard to essentially get her to the point that she was at, and she has smashed it. Now, we are going to have a look and see what this girl can do better for her first time stepping on stage. So here we go. Love the confidence, love the head looking. That was definitely something we wanted to emphasize within her confidence. Now, the one thing that I will say that has definitely gotten the better of Abby here is her arms swinging everywhere. Now, that's probably not a good pose. She would hate me if I kept her on that pose position. So one thing that we really need to control, especially with the adrenaline, is how we walk, girls. Is yes, we want to get there. Yes, we want to kind of get it over with because maybe you're scared, you've got too much adrenaline, but we don't want these arms swinging around. So having them nice and controlled. My one piece of advice is let your body move the arms rather than fully emphasizing them. You want them to be controlled, you want them to be concise, and you don't want them to be over the top. I definitely think here we could have had a better hip hinge and posed more towards the judges here as well. Beautiful glute pop, apart from what I would suggest most women do as well, is they lift their shoulder all the way up to their chin, and it just hides their neck and makes them look a bit like awkward. So just reduce that down and relax that arm. A bit of nerves here. So when you're nervous and you lose your footing, this is the moment within the glute pop you should really find time to breathe before you open up into this side shot. Definitely think that arm could have been a little bit closer to her body to help emphasize this out a little bit more. Really, really lovely. Making sure, again, that hand is actually doing something and it's tucked in. Again, it just looks cleaner. We don't just want a hand dangling outwards. I just realised there's no music on these. I reckon we could definitely have had more of a lean into this right side. So instead of her being more like this, if she was to rotate and lean more into this side, she would have been more neutral throughout her shoulders. She would have been able to have brought that fullness throughout that back shoulder there. And again, just created a little bit more of a complete look. And also making sure that you don't do a high knee when you sign off. So making sure you flick your foot back rather than bringing a high knee up. Okay, and next we have, I believe there's one more. Or is that it? No, there is. We have Ladies Master Bikini, Elizabeth coming first place. So massive congratulations to you. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how you look here. This is the first time I'm actually going to be coming across this. So very much looking forward to seeing how you pose. But again, a massive congratulations. It's always better to see them when they come to the front. First thing I'm going to say is keeping your chin up and smiling. Again, first impressions is super important, and anytime you look down and kind of like look worried, you look nervous. So make sure your chin up, even if you're scared as hell, and just plaster a smile on your face. Again, I definitely think the bikini could have been lifted up higher. Again, you're not really creating that symmetry throughout your bikini because this is sitting lower than this. Things like that, girls, are honestly really, really important. And I know it sounds really stupid, but it is. So next time, make sure your bikini is higher. You can use bikini bum tape if it was falling down. But this front positioning arms is lovely, but just make sure we've got no fists in our hands. I prefer a nice relaxed hand in my opinion. I definitely think you could rotate those knees out a little bit more as well. And the one thing that I really don't like is seeing palms of hands. Again, this is my own personal opinion, but I know you girls who have gone on stage, or the girls that I'm actually analysing now, you will know how dirty your hands get. And you can kind of see it here as well. So I always recommend that when you are going into a transitional shot, keep your palms down. Don't open them up to the judges like this. Even if you have to open them up like that, just make sure you rotate them around as well. I definitely think there could be an emphasis on a top line here by actually activating her lats and spreading them out a little bit more. Her condition was conditioned. Again, not just pocketing in that side hip here, which is the only bit that looks full, making sure you're tilting that pelvis back and rotating into the glute, not pocketing into the hip, because you're not creating any type of fullness throughout that glute when you don't do that. Can you see how she's got an ass, but she's making it look flat? And again, none of that. What we don't want is we don't want to be leaning forwards to then tuck our pelvis back. All we need to do when it comes to pushing your glutes back is we don't need to do that, okay? I promise you it does nothing. You've got to remember the judges are really low as well, okay? So make sure you just slightly tilt on the pelvis, okay? Just pushing it back and making sure your upper glute is still shown by the judges. We don't need none of this, okay? We don't want to see what you've had for breakfast. Now, I definitely think we could have gotten a little bit more depth from her because of how it looked from that front shot. So again, that less tilt of the pelvis will bring her upper body, will allow her to bring her chest up and rotate around a little bit more here. Definitely think she could have had a little bit more of an internal rotation in her elbow just to sit those lats a little bit, those delts a little bit higher. And then she would need to bring her hands in front of her to essentially roll those shoulders back to create an emphasis and a lot more fullness throughout her upper body. I definitely think she could have brought some more fullness to the stage anyway, but she looks great. But again, this could be down to posing. Now, the one thing that I also don't recommend is using this arm to come up. Now, there's two reasons for this. One, because you're hiding your beautiful face. Don't hide your beautiful face. Second of all, armpits, sweat, and tan, they don't go together. So don't hide your beautiful face and don't show the judges your tan. Think about your back arm so you can show your face, you can sign off, and no one has to see sweaty armpits. So girls, first things first, or last thing, is I want to say a massive congratulations to all of you. You are all a winner in your own right, and you have all smashed it and all gone on to your first stage and came out with a gold trophy. Hopefully this has helped you. Hopefully you are going to go into the next time you go on stage and feel super confident and hopefully take on the tips that I've provided. Again, I know that not everyone is going to listen to me and this is my own personal opinion, but if there is anything that I can do to help anyone and everyone, please just let me know. Message me on the Limitless Flow posing website and myself and Amy will be in contact. So again, thank you so much for watching. Please like and please subscribe and I'll see you guys for the next one.